Welcome back. You're listening to the panel discussion, Clearing the Path Toward IT Modernization on federalnewsradio.com at 1500 AM. I'm your moderator, Jason Miller. My guest is Chris Howard, the Vice President of Federal Sales for Nutanix. Now, Chris, last section we talked a little bit about what is this hyper-converged infrastructure, this new approach to really helping agencies take that first or the middle step toward a big cloud implementation. One thing about when you talk about cloud, when you talk about virtualization, when you talk about this HCI environment is cybersecurity. Everyone brings it up and how difficult it is. Why is this idea of this new infrastructure, the way you just described it, more secure than maybe the legacy side, the three-tiered architecture as you described it?
Yeah, so first let's just talk about the three-tiered architecture. You have all of these different components. Each one has a different security posture and requirements. So getting them all in line with each other is, I won't say it's impossible, but it's a very difficult task. Plus with the legacy vendors, security is most times a bolt-on or an afterthought. Products don't come from the factory already applying the DISA STIGs or certain other security accreditation and compliances. So there's just a lot of challenges in that to begin with. And then with hyperconverged and specifically Nutanix, we have actually built in security into our software development lifecycle. I know that sounds difficult, but it's pretty simple. From the very beginning when we got into this market, we knew that security accreditations and compliance was going to be an important thing for us as a company. So we built it into the actual day-to-day activities. So as our product is developed, we're incorporating DISA STIGs, we're incorporating all of the accreditations required around common criteria, FIPS, a bunch of things that exist in the federal marketplace. So by not making it a bolt-on and doing it as part of the day-to-day activities and building of the technology, it inherently makes the product more secure and it inherently makes it less vulnerable to attacks. With the three-tiered architecture, you have a lot of different attack vectors and a lot of points of which people can go in and try to infiltrate that environment. With the hyperconverged, since it's all consolidated into a single platform, it gives us a lot more visibility, a lot more opportunity to make it secure and do it on a continuous basis. So, and we can talk further about that. The government has a lot of different things from a requirements perspective around accreditation. When you put a product into the environment, it has to be accredited. In the past, it was a point-in-time accreditation. Well, now the government wants you to incorporate more of a continuous monitoring basis, so something specifically called DIA RMF, and we take that to heart when we're building the product. So we give the customers an ability to scan and run these scans against the product on a daily basis, a weekly basis, and if there's issues that are brought up from those scans, we will even self-remediate for the customer.
Now, you talked a lot there, so let me back up for a sec. One of the things about the DISA STIG or the CMMI or the FIPS is, okay, that's great. Yeah, you meet all the, you check the box, but what does it really mean? Let's break that down for a second. When you talk about the three-tiered architecture, if I patch the storage, right, that may throw off the application layer or and that may throw off another layer. And that's where you guys aren't having that problem because, as you said, everything's in one Lego box. I think people can visualize that. That's really the big difference is when you have to patch something or update something, it happens once and it's good to go.
Correct, yeah. With the three-tiered, you have, like I said, a lot of different attack vectors. So as you get your server environment up to its accredited state, does that accredited state match the same as your network or your virtualization layer or your storage? So those are four or five different things that you have to maintain, and it's difficult to keep each one on the same playing field. We've built a lot of cool things into the technology around automation and one-click operations. So basically, for us to patch and update the firmware, update our software, and update the virtualization layer, that's literally one click in our management GUI. So to your point, instead of having to operate and maintain 4 or 5 different layers, we're maintaining one within our product. So it gives us it does make it easier for us to control and make sure that all of those features and functionality are in compliance with what the government requires.
And again, this goes back to the workforce conversation, which we'll do in the third segment, because then it opens the door for, okay, we don't need 6, 7, 10, 12 people to focus on this different layer. You can get one person, and that takes us down the path also to automation. How much does automation play a role into the security side? You talked about giving the accreditation, moving from point in time to continuous monitoring, giving scans that are weekly, daily scans. That has to be all automated.
Oh, absolutely. It's I've worked for a number of different companies, and this is not specific to them, but most companies in the IT world, when the data center guys or girls, when they go, okay, I need to harden or secure this product, more times than not, they get a package that's about this big. It's got 300-400 things that you have to change. Well, unfortunately, when you change half of them, they break something else. So the fact that we already come from the factory when the product is delivered, hardened and secured already, it takes the onus of security off of the data center worker and the government, and it puts it on us. We're the vendor. We build the product. Nobody knows how to secure it better than the developer of that product. So we just try to automate that whole compliance and accreditation. Now, once it is accredited, and then 2 months later, you go to scan it again, I guarantee you 9 times out of 10 in that traditional architecture, you're going to be way far away from that current accredited state. So us automating that through our GUI and letting you scan it, letting you secure it in one-click operations, it just tremendously makes the data center more efficient and allows the workforce to focus on more important things, which I know that we'll talk about in the later segment.
You also brought up an RMF, risk management framework.
Mm-hmm.
Talk a little bit about what that is and how that fits into this whole discussion about cybersecurity.
Yeah, so prior to the DIA RMF, the government used to have a process called DIACAP, which is a point-in-time accreditation. So the day that you get your environment stood up, the accreditors come in and say, okay, you're secure today, right? But that accreditation moves, it's a moving target day after day after day because people change things, new things are brought into the environment. So what the government did was they wanted to incorporate this continuous monitoring, and they call it DIA RMF. And what that is basically at any point in time, they want to make sure that you are still accredited in your environment. So there's really no easy way to do that unless it's built into the product. You have to be able to scan, whether it's daily, weekly, monthly, whatever it is that the government wants to do, but you have to be able to scan it anytime to see if it's accredited, and if it's not, know exactly why it's not accredited, and then also know exactly how to move it back into that accredited state. And we have all of that built in and automated into our product.
All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we've been teasing about the workforce. We'll talk a little bit about the workforce. You're listening to the panel discussion, Clearing the Path Toward IT Modernization on federalnewsradio.com and 1500 AM.